In the Lab, a Texans podcast that takes a different look at things. Drew Dougherty and John Harris have their lab coats and goggles on, and the Bunsen burners burning. Here's Drew.
Hey, we're back. It's been a few weeks, hasn't it? But this is In the Lab. I'm Drew Dougherty. That's John Harris. We didn't talk to you together because we've just been so dang busy because of training camp. And for that, we apologize, but we won't let it happen for a long, long time now because, John, we're back in the swing of things. This is the last Tuesday. We will do an In the Lab where we don't have a game coming up afterwards. So we'll do this one, and then we'll do one next Tuesday, and 2 days after that, you're in Kansas City, and the Texans are in Kansas City kicking things off with the Chiefs. How you been, Broseph? I've missed you.
Yeah, man, I missed you too. It's been kind of weird to be out there at practice because you know how I am at practice, man. I don't like to talk to anybody at practice other than like you, Mark, and DP, kind of share some thoughts. So it's been strange, man. I've had a lot of solo time out there at practice, but it's been good. Team's been getting ready, and I've had a chance to see each of the practices. They've gone into regular season mode starting last Saturday. So you get out there and you see activation. And that's it. So we're kind of in regular season mode, just as the team is in regular season mode. So we're back on track with our In the Lab podcast.
Yes, we are. And today on In the Lab, we're talking about two surprises apiece, two for me, two for you, that you saw during training camp. So you went in with a preconceived notion of things, and that kind of got jiggled on and put on its ear because these guys or these things outperformed or overperformed or just simply surprised you with the way they performed coming into and during training camp. I'm going to go first because you usually steal all the good ones. So I'll go first. And it's a surprise.
I try and let you go first sometimes, man.
No, it's because I always wrestle it away. I'm a ball hog in that respect. But mine, and really both of mine today are going to be guys that really should not have been surprises if we read context clues from the past. But my first one is AJ Moore and what he's done on defense. If you listen to everybody and you look at what he's done, he makes a play every single day. Like you get transcripts from the Houston Texans media relations department every single day. And if you go into your Outlook and you type Moore, M-O-O-R-E, and then hit return, the transcripts come up. And if you look, somebody said something good about AJ Moore yesterday. The day before that, somebody else said something good. Boom, 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 boom. You can go down the line for basically the last 3 weeks. Maybe once, twice, 3 times over that entire span, somebody has not asked or somebody has not spoken about AJ Moore because of what he's done on defense. Now, coming into this August, we knew he was an absolute baller on special teams. He's led this team in special teams tackles each of the last 2 years. And this has been a really good special teams unit. You and I talk a lot about these guys. We know what he can do. We know his capabilities there. So that's never going to be a surprise, him doing well on special teams. And it shouldn't, I guess, ultimately have been a surprise to me that he's been making plays defensively. We'll see how much it happens in the regular season. But if you listen to Anthony Weaver and you listen to some of the guys like Justin Reed, who is a guy who plays the same position, was the same year coming into the league, they've all said many great things, and Bill O'Brien too, many great things about what he's going to be able to contribute on defense. And it shouldn't be a surprise because he was if you look at it, he was one of your best players in each of the last 2 years. He made an impact in many, many ways each of the last 2 years, but it looks like there's a chance defensively he's going to make more of an impact than he has in years past because he's played about 20, 25, 30 snaps altogether on defense, John. That's my surprise. Although I got to put an asterisk by it because it should not have been a surprise.
It's interesting you bring him up. I've been a big fan of AJ from when he got in the building, and I remember the first day or two he was interviewed when he got in the building. And to go back, it was 2018. He had spent training camp with, I think, the Patriots. Yes. It was a different team.
Yes, Patriots. Yeah.
All training camp with a different team. We claim him on waivers on 2018. And so he doesn't really know the defense, doesn't really know anything. But I remember him standing up, talking to some of the media, and he just said, look, I'm going to make an impact on this team however possible. Special teams, if that's where it's got to be, man, I'm going to go dominate special teams. And he did. And then in 2019, the first couple of weeks of camp, he was having a really, really good camp.
Yeah.
And then kind of the last week and a half, 2 weeks going into preseason games, didn't make as many plays as he had been making prior to.
Well, he had a concussion. He had a concussion, remember?
Yeah.
And I think it was it might have been in a game where he missed some games.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
That's right. And he missed, I think, a couple of preseason games because of it. And I think that set him back defensively. But at the end of the year, he would go in at the money spot on dime defense. And I remember the Buffalo game, he made a couple of big plays in the Buffalo game on defense, not just special teams. And it got me thinking, because I've talked about, I've been asked about A.J. Moore for the last couple of weekends when Wade Smith and Cecil Shorts have done the training camp special show on Sports Radio 610. They've asked me about A.J. Moore. And I said, and it hit me. I was like, you know who he reminds me of, guys? He reminds me of Eddie Pleasant. If you remember Eddie was the guy that played the dime linebacker, the money spot, and then he would play special teams. And he got to a point where he was really good at special teams, and then little by little he would add. That became kind of his spot in the dime package, and he really became good. And he was great because he had safety speed, but he hit like a linebacker, and he played linebacker at Oregon, and he played safety at Oregon, so he's kind of a mix of both. That's kind of what I see with AJ, that if this team does play 6 defensive backs, and they might, because they're going to face a lot of teams that are going to throw the ball, spread you out, you may need a guy like AJ in there that can thump, that can blitz, that can play the run, can cover a running back out of the backfield. Those are the kind of things they're going to ask AJ to do. So I really wouldn't be surprised if he has a role in this defense in addition to what he does on special teams. And I think it's going to make this defense that much better. But you're right. I think it's a surprise for some people to go, hey, wait a second. Who's this guy I keep hearing about? AJ Moore. Well, he's been here. But I think as he was making progress, you hit it right. That's right. He had a concussion. That slowed it down. But then kept going at it on special teams, never lost his confidence, and got some time back on defense. So in 2018, he never had training camp to do anything to earn a spot on defense. He's just a rookie. He's just flying on special teams. Started to earn that time in 2019. I think we would have seen it last year, but then the concussion slowed him down. 2020, he's been full bore. He's been ready to go. So he's been, I think, from a defensive perspective, he's probably been the best player overall. And he's gotten a lot of reps. I mean, look, J.J. Watt's not gotten many reps. And, Zach Cunningham gets a few reps here or there. Whitney's not getting a ton of reps. So AJ's gotten a lot of reps, and he's done a lot with it.
But first team or second team, it hadn't mattered. He's been around the ball. I mean, he's picked off a pass just about every practice. He comes in on those odd blitzes, and he's just around the ball the entire time, and that's been so much fun to see.
That interception in the scrimmage, Drew,
that was acrobatic.
Was unbelievable.
Yeah, it really was athletic.
That was unbelievable interception in the scrimmage. I'm gonna go to mine.
Okay.
And I'll be, you've heard me say this a million times, Drew. Nothing ever surprises me.
Right. Yeah,
so,
we should put that caveat out there. We're not stunned, but
I think when the very first day that I was out there was the first day in pads, and it was the first look at David Johnson up close. And I just went, the fans are going to like this guy. All these narratives about, he's a ham sandwich. I mean, Michael Irvin called him a ham sandwich. I mean, he's really internalized the verbal beating that he essentially took this offseason because he was the one in the trade. And he wasn't the only one. The Texans were able to get Ross Blacklock and get David Johnson for DeAndre Hopkins. So, but David's internalized that. And so I wondered how that would go. Well, the very first play that I saw in training camp, he took a handoff on an outside zone. And, when you watch guys, Drew, and we had the fortunate opportunity watching Arian Foster. Arian looked like he was just running on pillows. He just glided. He looked like he's skiing on a slalom. Some guys, like Carlos Hyde, like every step he took, he just like pounded the turf. It wasn't like that. David's kind of in between those guys. You see him kind of glide at times. You see him explode at times. I've seen David a couple times avoid hits with cuts. I'm like, and he's 230 pounds. So I think there were a lot of preconceived notions about David just because he was traded for Hopkins and just because he had not had a lot of production at Arizona, and he was playing for Cliff Kingsbury, and Cliff is looking for the right guy to fit the system. And when David got banged up in the middle of the year, unfortunately, other running backs were banged up, and what that did was it forced the Cardinals to go out and get Kenyon Drake, and Kingsbury fell in love with him, and David Johnson was like, I really don't have kind of a spot, and that's why he ended up being traded to us. And I think he's going to end up surprising a lot of people this year. He told Ty Dunn of Bleacher Report, he said, to be a 1,000 guy, I mean, that's a mouthful, but that's what he's always wanted to do. And if there's anybody that could do it, it's David Johnson. The way that he runs routes. And I'll give you an example, Drew, in that scrimmage I thought was really, really telling. Deshaun brought the team up to the line, and he didn't have the first receivers with him, but he had David and he had the first offensive line. And then he had Jordan Thomas, and then he had the second group of receivers. So he has them spread out empty. So David's to his left in the slot, and he's got a tight end and 2 receivers off to the left. So the safety, Anthony Chesley, goes out to over David Johnson immediately. Terrell Adams is the only linebacker on the field, and so he walks over. I could see him do it. And I'm watching. I'm like, don't do it. Terrell, don't do it. And Terrell walks over, and he takes Chesley, and he points over the other side. And I know in my head, I'm going, that's the rule. Linebacker to running back, safety to tight end. That's probably the rule for that particular man scheme. And I was like, Terrell, do not do it. You're about to get embarrassed.
Deshaun Watson goes ding, 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 ding.
And I'll give Deshaun credit. This is the best thing. He didn't even look at it the rest of the time. He kept looking at how they were lined up to his right.
Yeah.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Terrell, get ready. And David Johnson goes outside, gets him to bite, gets back inside leverage. Deshaun hits him in stride, and David Johnson is 20 yards before anybody can put a hand on him. And I'm like, have the Texans had a running back that can do it? Yeah, the only other guy that probably, Arian could do it years ago. But Duke Johnson can do that. But to have a guy 230 pounds that can do that, I mean, David Johnson can do some really sweet things for this offense. And I can't wait to see what they do with him on September 10th. It's going to be really, really fun. So I think David Johnson will be a big surprise for people when they get a chance to see him.
All right, so far, I've gone with A.J. Moore and his defensive prowess. You've gone with just David Johnson in general because, hey, the last few years have been tough for him. He's been injured, so he's looked really, really good so far through camp. And, yeah, to piggyback off of what you said, when I was out of practice about a week or two ago, they were doing a 2-minute drill. And it was in successive plays, but he made a catch that was tough for even a wide receiver to make. And I've never really seen a running back make this type of catch, but got his his feet in bounds, caught the ball, and it wasn't the greatest of passes, and he was able to corral it in, stop the clock, and pick up yardage. And then next play, it was kind of a similar play to what you're talking about in the scrimmage. Cut over, and he got 20 yards upfield. So he does things that you don't really see most running backs do. Okay, moving on to mine. Another surprise that really shouldn't be a surprise because we've seen him fill in and do good things is Deandre Carter offensively.
Oh.
Okay, so Deandre Carter was 3rd in the NFL last year in punt return yards. You could almost set your clock by it. If he was going to return a punt, if he wasn't fair catching it, 10 yards almost every single time. He'd take it from the 10 to the 20. He'd take it from the 15 to the 25. You knew you were going to get 10 yards upfield with Deandre Carter. That's very valuable. So that was good. And at times last year, he had to play some wide receiver just because of injury, as well as 2 years ago. But he's made plays this preseason, scrimmage-wise, practice-wise. He's made plays on offense. He made plays in that scrimmage that were really, really, pretty consequential. I'd say about 3 big plays, 3 big catches. And he knows this offense. He knows what to do. He's very, very reliable. And I see projections out there from some folks like he might be on the bubble. He might not make it. I don't think there's any damn chance he doesn't make this team because of what he's been able to do and the comfort that Deshaun Watson has with him, which is huge, as well as A.J. McCarron behind him. But, yeah, I think DeAndre Carter and what he's done offensively has been really good because he's made plays offensively. And, again, I don't know why the hell that surprises me because I've seen this and knew this for the last 2 years.
Well, I mean, Drew, think about those 2 games that we've played. That Saturday game,
Tampa Bay,
the Saturday before Christmas.
Yeah.
The Jets in 2018, he has like a catch and run for 50 yards. And then last year he has the one against Tampa Bay that he caught over his shoulder and made a great catch. We did a film room on that one. It was tremendous. And those are plays that Deshaun knew he could rely on DeAndre. And the one other thing about DeAndre, and this is a lesson for anybody that anybody that plays the game, but especially if you're not the number one guy, but if you can find a way to ingratiate yourself to the coaching staff, learn every single play backwards and forwards and know what every single receiver does. They can take Deandre and put him at the X, the Z, the Y, the H, the F. They can put him in any receiver position possible, and he knows the route and the adjustment for that particular play.
Yeah.
And that's been so helpful because he's had to go into the game for various guys, in the slot for Will Fuller. So he's played a number of different roles for this team. You're dead on with that. He's steady. And look, when you average 10 yards a punt return,
yeah.
I mean, think about it. That's another first down. That's a first down you're saving the offense from getting.
And
you got on a punt return.
And let me hop in there because he was so consistent last year, and you figure it's likely to be the same way this year. But what if he breaks two, over the course of the season for like 1 for 40, 1 for 50 yards, and then he's averaging 13, 14 yards a return. He leads the league in that if that happens. So It's a possibility. He still hasn't taken one to the house. And I joked with him last year. I was like, I think it's coming this week, and it didn't. But you got to figure he's almost due. He's one of those guys. I guess I'll be the he's due guy. But he's been a great. It's not a surprise. I guess it's a surprise that the team has been willing to put him in that situation more so than he's been able to do it. I knew he could do it. Yeah. It's been fun seeing him put in the situation. All right, those are my two: AJ Moore and DeAndre Carter. Getting the situation, getting the chances to do what they've done, which has been, sparkle. What's your last one? Because you had David Johnson looking the way he looks right now.
Well, the thing about this year, I was going to say it's been weird, but a lot of times during the draft process, I have a lot more time to see players up close. Like you see them at their pro day, or you see them a little bit more at the combine. And we did have a full combine, but we left before the defense even got there. But you see them at a pro day. A lot of times I go to a pro day. So I get a chance to see these guys up close. And this year I didn't have that opportunity. And I knew when they drafted certain guys, I knew what kind of player each guy was. But I really wasn't totally convinced, what do they look like? Because whenever I see a team come into NRG, a college team that we usually have the kickoff game, which we're not going to have this year, I will spend a lot of that time talking with our scouts, and we're all kind of doing the same thing. And it's basically sizing up the players, like looking at a guy going, that guy doesn't have an NFL body. That guy doesn't have an NFL body. But I remember Ole Miss came in here a couple years ago, and I remember A.J. Brown was out on the field, and he was working some routes in the middle of the field.
Lots of guys with NFL bodies on that team.
Yeah. And so I was talking to my buddy, Richard Cross, who's the sideline reporter. And I was like, who's that? What tight end? I thought he was a tight end. He goes, no, that's AJ. I was like, that's AJ Brown. And I'm like, that guy could go in our locker room today and he would fit. And so that's kind of the way that I look at guys, because you see college players that are 305 pounds and you go, that's not an NFL body. When I saw Ross Blacklock the first day, when I saw John Grenard. Now I saw John Grenard at the Senior Bowl, so I knew he was tall. He was 6'3", 6'4", but he was wearing kind of baggy clothing. And even out at practice that day, he was wearing basketball shorts. So I really didn't kind of see him up close. I see him, and I see Blacklock, and I see John Reed, I see Isaiah Coulter, and I see Charlie Heck, and I'm like, physically, holy smokes. These guys are exactly what you draw up. Charlie Heck is 6'7", long arms. John Reed, you see him, and he is just thick and smart. And he's looking me eye to eye. So I know he's 6 foot, and he's about 190. I'm like, man, that's good size. Here I'm thinking John Reed, just watching him on tape at Penn State, I'm thinking, he's 5'9", 5'10", 180 maybe. He looks kind of smaller than some of these other guys. But you get him up close, and you're like, wow, he's like 6 foot, maybe 5'11", 190. I saw Grenard. Grenard, his backside is probably, bigger than this desk that I have. And I know people hear that and go, ha, ha, ha. Well, when you think about the great rushers, pass rushers in the league, Khalil Mack, Justin Houston, they're all kind of built that way. Huge backside, strong legs, and that's where that burst comes from. And you see that twitch. And Ross Blacklock is built unlike anybody the Texans have had. I mean, you could tell me he's 275 pounds, and I believe you, but he's 305 pounds. And it's just like the weight is distributed in his body so differently. And he's so strong. His thighs and his calves and his trunk are just enormous, but yet he's agile. He plays on his toes. I mean, I was really surprised at the physical makeup of the rookies. And after watching him for 10 days, I think there's at least one or two that will make a significant impact on this team. And I think it would be three if John Grenada could really get healthy. If Grenada could get healthy, I think Grenada would find a way. And I hope he's able to get back at some point, because we need that pass rush. We need him to develop as a rookie so that moving forward, this isn't a lost year for him. We need that guy to rush the quarterback, especially after losing Duke Ejiofor. But John Reed and Ross Blacklock, just seeing them up close, and Isaiah Coulter too. Now, Isaiah's it'd be good for him to probably put a little bit of weight on, but it's not like he's small. He's 200 pounds. But he's 6'3", 200 pounds. And when you see him, he just looks like a gazelle. He can fly. So in not having pro days, in not having private workouts, the Texans were able to find NFL bodies, but also guys that you can absolutely tell are coachable. They're the absolute dependable, tough, smart, but they love the game. They are going to be a coachable group. And they're going to bring some twitch and some explosiveness to particular positions where the Texans could probably use it. So I think that, to me, was a big surprise in that I knew these guys could play. I'd seen them play multiple times, but seeing them up close, it was like, yo, these guys are NFL built. Now, mentally, they've got to get up on that with the playbook and scheme. And before long, I think you'll see an impact from this 2020 rookie group. And I know there were a lot of people that thought, rookies, just 2021. That's when we'll see it. 2020 for this group, I think, could be an impactful group. Even if it's just one or two guys, I think you'll feel good that you got impact from rookies, no doubt.
John, always fun talking with you. I can't wait, man. Next time we do this, like I said earlier in the podcast, we'll be getting ready and talking about a game coming up. How great is that? At long last. Long last.
So excited.
All right, John, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again soon, man. Bye.
Yeah, man. All right, brother.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.